Hare Gange Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. And before we get started, I have an announcement for you. Are you ready to reconnect with your joy, that vibration of living in alignment with your heart, where you are fueled with passion to fulfill your Dharma, your soul's purpose? Well, if so, then I invite you to join us in Rose Gold Goddesses, because this month we are diving deep into the energy of Lemuria, the ancient civilization based off of living a life of alignment with your true joy. In this 2-hour workshop, we dive deep into what the Lemurian frequency is all about, connecting with the mermaid and dolphin energy, why we need community more than ever, and plenty of practices, rituals, journal prompts, and so much more, so you can finally make 2020 the year that you feel vibrant, radiant, and full of passion to actually create what you were meant to do here on this planet and live your truth. Well, if this is resonating with you, then come join us in Rose Gold Goddesses. You are going to love this Lemuria circle and the 11 other goddess circles we have done. You have access to all of them as soon as you join us in Rose Gold Goddesses. On top of that, you will be able to do my healing and embodiment through dance workshop. This is a 3.5-hour workshop with spoken and actual follow-along dance prompts you can do to connect to the healing energy of dance, to embody yourself, to release trauma, and step into your most embodied, authentic version. We also have my Awaken Your Powers Masterclass with Shaman Durek, my Sex Money Magic program with Alexandra Roxo, and dozens of other workshops available for you as soon as you join us in this community with 2,000 other spiritual soul sisters, all committed to living a life of joy, truth, fun, radiance, and Dharma. This is all available for you in Rose Gold Goddesses, my membership community, and I am so excited to invite you inside. You can find more information at rosegoldgoddesses.com. The link is in the show notes, and I can't wait to meet you. This week, I was not going to record a solo cast because I feel like we are in summer and people are taking more time for themselves, and I wanted to also give people that space, but there's so much spiritual chaos happening right now that I was like, yo, I need to hop on this mic for a sec. So if it's your first time listening, welcome. We've been speaking a lot about the different energetic shifts that have been happening over the course of, the past 3.5 years that I've had this podcast, but especially in 2020. So if it's your first time listening, please go back and listen to all of the other conversations that we have been having ever since this March. And right now we are really reaching this turning point. Many of you guys can feel this, but we are reaching the time of the Great Split. The Great Split is a prophecy that many spiritual lineages have spoken about for thousands of years, that eventually there would be this time that there would be a divide between two ways of living. And there will be the people who essentially ascend into the 5D, which is the fifth dimensional reality that is based off of joy, love, harmony, oneness, connection with the earth. And there will be the other divide of people who remain in the matrix. That is our present reality, the systems, the media, the taxation, and all of the things that are normalized today that most people don't question, that you have to, succumb to a school system, spend all your money on college, spend the rest of your money paying back that debt to college, only to get a job that you don't really like because you never think that you'll be able to live your dreams. Like that reality, So I'm sure most of you guys listening have awoken to the fact that the system is extremely corrupt. But right now we are essentially seeing the people who have awoken to that versus are stepping into embodying what this new earth can look like. And this new earth that people speak about, of a new reality, a new beautiful way that we're living off the land and communing with each other and in touch with nature and in joy, well, that's not going to be on another planet. That's going to be on the same earth. So we are all living on the same earth, but we all have very different worlds. That has been the reality. That has always been the reality. And right now it is more obvious than ever before. If you want proof of it, try going to a grocery store today. You will feel so many different frequencies in that one grocery store, from people who are extremely afraid to people who are extremely angry, extremely disconnected, extremely connected, extremely joyful, extremely sad. You will see all of it right now. It's been there, but it's more obvious than ever before. You know, we flew to Boston to visit my family, and just being at the airport, literally my husband walked by this woman and she started to freak out that he walked by her despite them both wearing masks, because she was obviously in this perpetual state of fear that for most of us, we've been in our homes most of the time. So we don't expose ourselves that often to all of these different frequencies that are living right now, except maybe if you are working on the front lines or you're working at a grocery store, et cetera. So this split is more evident than ever before. And essentially, we are given the opportunity of, are we going to step into this new reality? Are we going to get clear of what we are letting go of? So I predict that there have been or are going to be a lot of breakups happening, a lot of quitting of jobs, changing careers, moving, a lot of big shifts right now. And again, these are not new things. You've probably been feeling that relationship is stagnant, or that job is not in alignment with you, or the place that you're living with is not of your highest potential. And right now, the shoe is feeling really tight. And when that shoe feels really tight, you have no choice but to take it off. And that's what is happening right now. We are realizing that we have been living in very tight shoes that were never meant for us, that this society has trained us. You know, it's like the geishas who are binding their feet. That's how our society has trained us to be, to bind our souls, to bind our joy, to bind our expression, to not fully embody the joy and the bliss that we are underneath it all. We think life's tough, get a helmet. The shadows, they're so overwhelming. But the thing is, it's not that the world is getting worse. It's that we are finally beginning to have the conversations about it. So we can look at it from that lens of, I'm so grateful that all of this is coming to surface right now. Or, what the hell is happening on this planet? Screw this, I'm out. What do you choose to see? And then, what reality do you want to be anchored into? So, a lot of us right now, for the very first time, are awakening to the darkest shadows of our society. I'm not going to go and say all the things because I don't want to give energy to it, but if you know, you know. And for a lot of people, it is their first time learning about this stuff. For me, my grandma was in a forced child marriage, so I grew up, being an actual cause of it. And I began working with Amnesty International. I became the president of our local Amnesty International, which is an international human rights organization. I've staged many protests. I went to school to study international development with a concentration in child sex trafficking and child labor and child soldiers, and that's what I wanted to go into. So I've known about this reality my whole life. And it is very dark, and it is very overwhelming, and it is the worst thing that could happen on our plane. But if we don't talk about it, it's not going to disappear. However, there are effective ways to go about creating solutions, and there are ineffective ways that create more divide. There are also ways that this actual occurrence is being politicized. So this is why, and after, spending most of my life on the front lines of human rights, being in so many different countries, working, literally seeing girls in India who used to be in cages, starting a clothing line, Saraswati Couture, which was made by victims of sex trafficking, really being on the grounds here, no bypass. I realized that the most effective way to create lasting change is to raise consciousness and help others raise their consciousness as well. Because if people can't feel it and they can't sense what is wrong themselves, then you are always going to be trying to force someone what to do. And this is what's happening right now. We have weaponized this term of spiritual bypass. I did a podcast on spiritual bypass about a month and a half ago, especially in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement. And it is a very important concept for people to learn about, but I think a lot of people just learned about it a month ago. And they didn't listen to the part of the episode where I shared spiritual bypass is something for you to decide within yourself, not to point your finger at someone else, because that in itself is spiritual bypass. But people take a word and they run with it. So what I'm seeing right now is this weaponization of the word spiritual bypass, that if someone doesn't agree with you or isn't being vocal the way that you want them to be or about what you want them to be, then they're spiritual bypassing. And instead of focusing on what we can do in ourselves, we are pointing the blame at others. We're saying, oh, well, you haven't done the work. Oh, you must not be spiritual. Oh, you must not know spiritual bypass, spiritual bypass, spiritual bypass. This is the exact thing that the beings at power want. Conquer and divide. The oldest play in the book. To take two sides that are fighting against the same cause. You know, the same people who are racists and who are benefiting from systemic racism are also benefiting from human trafficking, are also benefiting from patriarchy, are also benefiting from classism. These are the same people we're talking about. But what a genius plan that they've had to make it seem like if you care about one cause, you can't care about the others. Or even more so, that you're bypassing over the others by caring about one. And then having the people fight and shame each other instead of focusing on the people who are perpetuating this and the systems that are perpetuating this. So this is what's happening. It has been completely politicized. That if you say, I care about human trafficking and that children's matter, then someone will say, well, then you don't care about Black lives. If you say, I care about Black lives, they say, you don't care about human trafficking. If someone says, I care about the kids in the ICE detention centers, well, then you don't care about the environment. And then you must not care. You're spiritual bypassing. Do you see this? Have you felt it? Have you seen it on social media? Not everyone's cause is going to be your cause. However, we are all fighting the same battle. And that is the battle of essentially good versus evil. It is the eternal battle that has existed since the beginning of time and is spoken about in every single story and myth and culture and spiritual tradition and religion. It's the battle of good and evil. So what the evil does, like they've done throughout the world, is they, for example, colonize the Middle East, put in arbitrary borders, take regions that were living together for thousands of years in peace and harmony, create a faction between the two of them, and then give guns to both sides and have them kill each other. That's what they're doing right now with us, and we're not realizing it. And in fact, we're thinking that we're being these warriors, social justice warriors, by exactly following their play. So the passion is wonderful. Yes, care about the incarceration. Yes, care about the detention centers. Yes, care about the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the child labor, all of these things. Let's care about them and let's talk about them, but let's stop shaming other people for not responding and showing up in the same way that we might want to ourselves. Or even worse, maybe you're not showing up at all, but you're so hung up over so-and-so influencer isn't talking about it. And all of your mental currency is going over, why isn't so-and-so influencer talking about, they talked about this, why aren't they talking about that? Oh my God, they're fake. Oh my God, they're spiritual bypass. Not everyone is prepared to talk about things. We've seen this happen with Black Lives Matter. Most of the people who are influencers have no social justice background. That's not their fault. It's just the reality of what is. And, I could definitely say, how come you don't? Because I have that background, but it's different people's journeys. And I don't want someone to speak about something that they don't know about because it could actually, perpetuate more harm. So instead of bullying other people to show up in a certain way, you focus on how are you going to be that voice? How are you going to raise awareness? How are you going to show up? You be that person that creates the movement. Stop waiting on other people. Because we've seen this with the black squares and we see it again with the black and white photos is peer pressure activism doesn't do shit. Was a single person helped because of the black squares? No. Was a single woman helped from the female murders happening in Turkey because people posted black and white pictures of themselves on Instagram? No. And deeper than that, what is your raising awareness doing too? Raising awareness without taking action isn't doing anything still. That was the realization I had when I was working at an immigrant and refugee association, that all we were doing was raising money for the next fundraiser so we could make another movie and then raise more awareness. And it's like, what's the end goal here? You know, we could all know about something, but if no one's doing anything about it, it's still happening. So when the problem feels so big, we often get stuck and then we don't do anything at all. So this is why the most important work that you can do is fully commit to your dharma, your purpose, the way that you were meant to show up, which is going to be very different than how other people show up. It is unique to you. And the more that you know, I'm here to create awareness through podcasts, or I'm here to help educate our children, or I'm here to create sustainable products for our future, or I'm here to be a bridge between two cultures. The more you know your role, the more difference that you can actually make. It's not this like ego flaming difference that we're seeing on social media of like, I'm a good person, I reposted that thing. It's no, here's the actual solution that I'm creating that might even not feel completely related, but when you actually see things from the higher perspective, it's all related. You know, every single child that has a great preschool education is going to have a more solid background and make them less likely to perpetuate these crimes against humanity and make them more likely to know their boundaries and consent. So the preschool teacher could be kicking themselves, I'm not doing enough, when they're actually doing exactly what we need. And so is the gardener who's creating healthy, nourishing foods so our brains can function the right way. And so is the acupuncturist who is helping release trauma from our bodies. And so is the documentary maker. And so is every single person who's fully committed to living their dharma. Because your dharma is not just one job, but it's the unique expression that you carry out to the world. It is much more than just this one role. It's more like the purpose statement, right? If you look at the company, what's the mission statement here? That's your dharma. So commit to that. And then when different collective causes come up, we can say, okay, how can I create sustainable change in this way that is in alignment with my dharma? Because that way I'm seeing it through. There's actually going to be reciprocal to the energy that I'm putting here, and I can count on it not burning me out because it's something that I love to do. So this is what's happening. People are learning about these things for the very first time. They're having their spiritual awakenings right now in the midst of all of this. When you learn about these things for the first time, you can get very, very hysterical. And then with that hysteric energy, you go on the internet, you find other hysterical people. And then there are campaigns that have taken advantage of this and will create online media that has some bits of truth, but then positions one person to be the savior. And then because you're in such a vulnerable position at that time, you buy into it. And then before you know it, you're completely changing everything about your personality, your belief system, your moral compass, because you don't trust your intuition anymore. You feel like you've always been fed this lie, and now you can't trust anyone or anything. You're hysterical. You're not putting any focus towards your dharma anymore. You're not sharing your gifts. You're not sharing your strengths. You're in constant state of fear. And then because this one person who is profiting and getting power over you being in the state is then getting your vote and your power, they're going to continue to fund different Twitter accounts, YouTube accounts, etc., to continue to perpetuate this movement. And there are going to be some pieces of truth in it. So you will be like, wow, this really is happening. And here's some things that I could find that show that it's happening. But then when this one person is like, and he is the savior, and he's the one who's, fighting against the cause, like, use your intuition. Use your intuition and just look at this person. And you ask yourself, does this person look like a light worker to me? Does this person really look like a healer? And if they are a healer, then why don't they say executive order, get all of the kids out of the ICE cages, which is the kids who are in the cages right now at the Mexican border. Executive order, get them all out. Let them be free. Instead, they're spraying them with chemicals right now. It's like a modern day Holocaust that's happening right now. They're removing themselves from all of the treaties that we've had for environmental protection. So if this is your savior, why are they doing that? The first part of a spiritual awakening is to realize that everything in the media that you have been told is not necessarily the truth. The second part is to realize that not every conspiracy theory is the truth either. And the truth is not just one thing. There can be ounces of truth in different things, but who's creating it, who's funding it, who's profiting off of it? How does it make you feel? After watching this, do you feel more empowered, more aligned with love, more fueled to create the solution? Or do you feel helpless, victimized, in fear, confused, disconnected from your intuition, disconnected from your truth? I would say for most people right now, it's the latter. Because most of the content out there, whether it's in mainstream media, conspiracy theory media, it is created to disempower you. Because that's how you get hooked, and that's how you're vulnerable, and that's how you're impressionable, and that's how they take away your power again. So this is why I don't even like to give these things my focus, because whatever we put into words, we're putting energy and attention towards. So if all I do is sit around and I'm so scared of the vaccine and I'm so scared of the 5G and I'm so scared of the martial law and I'm so scared, and I put all my energy and all I do is start talking about this, well, then I'm actually perpetuating that reality to be true. And then I actually become part of the herd that's living in this fearful state, that's giving up their power. It's actually another version of the sheeple. The people who don't believe in the people who do believe it, whatever it is, if you're disconnected from your power, you are a sheeple. So I invite you to really take this time to take your power back, to disconnect from this addiction that you might be having to bad news, to this feeling that you're helping someone by consuming all of this media when you're taking no real action towards it, to this virus of fear, and to this feeling that if I keep reading and learning and coming up with new theories and this and that, then I'll get to the bottom of it. Guess what? You never will. Because there's so many layers of this and no one will ever know the truth. You'll spend your whole lifetime trying to figure it out. And then eventually you're going to look back and say, I did nothing. I did nothing but try to go down different rabbit holes and find the solution. And at the end of the day, I still don't fucking know. Because it was designed that way. Because this is the tactic, actually, to put about contradicting media. So you are spending all of your time trying to understand what's happening, and then you remain so confused that you end up doing nothing. This is actually a tactic they use in many different countries. So tune in. Tap in. Focus on what you're actually going to do, not shaming others, not weaponizing terms you just learned about, not saying, well, this person can't be spiritual if they're not talking about that and they're not showing up. Like, focus on you. Because that's judgment right there, which is one of the lowest vibration emotions. What are you creating? When everything's been burnt to dust, what's going to be left? If we don't start creating that new earth right now, it'll be too late when everything's burned to the ground. So focus on creating that now. Tap out of the matrix, mainstream matrix, conspiracy matrix. Tap into your truth, your power. What are you here to cause? It's better if you can get one thing off the ground and then try to wrap your head around the thousands of things they're purposely throwing at you. If you can just commit to one thing, being that creatrix, taking an idea, vata, putting it into action, pitta, birthing it to life, kapha, moving it through your doshas, opening up your chakras so you can receive and be in that system of flow. If you can just commit to that, I promise you will be helping more than 99% of the people who are checking on the news or the conspiracy theory news every single damn day. What are you here to cause? What is your dharma? What is your truth? What vibration can you carry? Joy, love, harmony, peace. We need those things right now because the amount of people that have jumped ship off of their dharmas and off of those planes of committing to a life of love is immense. Many people who were light workers have turned into calling themselves truth seekers, but not realizing that they're actually doing exactly what the system wants them to do, which is letting go of their truth. So we who are still committed to the way, living the way of the heart and creating the new earth and are like, yeah, there's a lot of shadows and we're going to keep on addressing them in the unique way that we were soul assigned to address them. We are going to be the ones who are actually paving the new earth that when shit is destroyed, let's say it is, we're like, here's what I've been working on, these sustainable communities, these new technologies that allow us to work with the land, these new ways of healing the body, these new systems of self-love, these ways to connect. So what do you want to focus on? I am so grateful to be incarnated at this time with you right now. It is a beautiful time to be alive. And when we can plug ourselves out of the spiritual chaos that has been there and is a tornado right now and is perpetuating. And it's an election year. So everything is going to be a battle between these perceived two sides, the left and the right, the blue and the red. Every single topic is going to become, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? As if those are the only two things one can be. Whether it's masks or if you believe in that Black Lives Matters or child trafficking matters, notice they've already turned these into oppositional stances. That's the duality right there that they perpetuate on. Our system is based off of this. Hate the other. Not noticing that the other actually wants the same thing that you do, which is a better, more beautiful world. So let's focus on our shared vision and actually taking a stance to create that and plugging out of what everyone else is doing and focusing on what you are doing. So I'm super excited to share with you that my upcoming book, Discover Your Dharma, which is all about finding your soul's purpose, moving it through your doshas, your chakras, finding your Dharma archetype, finding your Dharma blueprint, all of these things is now available for pre-order. Wherever books are sold, you can find it, Discover Your Dharma. The link is in the show notes. And my upcoming journal, a Yogic Path journal, is also available for pre-order. That is coming out September 1st, so right around the corner. It has practices for you to do in the morning and night. It's like very short, like gratitude, intention setting list, how the doshas are related to your menstrual cycle, setting intentions with them, etc. Vedic and Western astrology combined together. So it's such a beautiful way to actually commit to making every single day a day that you get to create your Dharma and noticing that each day is a gift. And if we can see each day like a gift and not lose ourselves in the spiral, we can create so much, so very much. And of course, in Rose Gold Goddesses this month, we are embodying the energy of Lemuria, the frequency of the heart, the frequency of creating heaven on earth, of unplugging from that matrix and tuning back into our dolphin, mermaid selves. So come join us in Rose Gold Goddesses. You can get the Lemuria Circle on its own or join Rose Gold Goddesses and be part of a community of 2,000 plus spiritual soul sisters, access to all my other courses, my healing and embodiment through dance course, my Awaken Your Powers Masterclass with Shaman Durek, Sex Money Magic Masterclass with Alexandra Roxo for annual members, and so much more. So you can find out more at rosegoldgoddesses.com. The link is in the show notes, and I'm so excited to meet you inside. If you loved this episode, I would love to send you a free gift, which is the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. This is a different book than Eat Feel Fresh, my first book ever, which is not released anywhere, and I am gifting it exclusively to those who leave a review of my podcast in the iTunes store. So all you got to do is head over to iTunes, where you may be listening to this podcast, and leave a review. Take a screenshot that you've left it and email it over to me at Sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. Again, that's Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com. And I will send you back the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type, which goes all into Ayurveda, doshas, plant-based nutrition, body types, all of the things in a really fun and engaging way. So this is my gift to you for free for supporting the podcast. Every single review I personally read. It really helps the podcast be listened to by more people so we can raise the vibration of the planet together. And I am so grateful to have you on this journey. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Namaste.